I have not met Ken yet. So hi.
I'm so sorry, Jennifer. So there's something unique about this trio of people, and that is that Jen shares two letters with both of our names, and it just depends on where in the name it is. So Jen, this is Ken. He comes right after you in alphabetical order. So I don't know if I'm pointing at him from your point of view, but
Yeah,
that's Ken. Uh, Also known as Dave Aguilar's stunt double. This is Ken.
I can
Right.
see that.
So, right.
I will tell
Um,
you that when I'm typing too fast and signing my emails all day, every day for work, I often end them with Ken instead of Jen and then have to go back and delete it because the J and the K are too close to one another. So I call myself Ken pretty regularly.
And the last names are very close also. Like we're only a few letters off. It's
Ringler, Radner.
kind of
Yeah, that's
funny.
true.
Yeah.
Sincerely, Kennifer. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, now that pleasantries are out of the way, and Ken
We will be only unpleasant from here on out.
only unpleasant. That's the rule. That is the rule. So, first of all, Ken's beard is much shorter than it normally is right now. He had this like beard that went down to his knees.
Oh, really?
It was quite a remarkable beard. Um, we are also doing a, I guess, combination, amalgamation, uh, compound podcast. This is the Stephen King trio with Dave Aguilar's stunt double Ken Radner, but it's but it's also this podcast is Lamb Chops because we are doing The Running Man, the Stephen King, aka Richard Bachman book. It's 2025 movie counterpart. And just as a sort of an afterthought, because I didn't think that everyone was actually going to do it, but now last night I watched the Schwarzenegger Running Man, and I will never get those 2 hours back. But you know what? I'll make it worth my while, just like I do with every episode of this podcast is Lamb Chops. Now, a little bit of background, very brief. This is normally done with Dave Aguilar, me, Jen, and Dave Aguilar. We talk about Stephen King novels. Uh, Dave Aguilar is stepping back from the podcast world for the time being, and I said, you know what? Ken Radner is like the same thing as Dave Aguilar, so let's use Ken Radner. And we were supposed to do the Running Man like back in the beginning of December, and things got super busy, and we're doing it now. So
Great.
that's the
And
background.
it just so happens that your pool of white bald men with glasses is larger than one. So we had a nice alternative.
Yeah, I am actually it's quite remarkable how many bald white men with glasses I know. Like it's not just Dave and Ken.
So the
There's a
pool
lot.
is large, not only larger than one, the pool is larger than two.
The
So
pool,
so
yeah.
you guys know we have a group where we all go to talk about you.
Ah,
Just so you
okay.
know.
Got it. Got
I
it.
So
understand. Bald white men
it's
who
not
have been
like
on
it
my
happens
podcast.
for no reason.
Right. Well, there's Kyle Bain, there's Jason Hatswell, there is Keith Bliss. He wears glasses, right? Yeah, he was only a regular on my podcast for like a year and a half. But okay. Anyway, now that that has been said and we know a little bit about each other, now we're talking about the Running Man. So, um, I will, I guess, give a very brief synopsis of the book and the 2025 movie because they're pretty similar. I don't need to go into like super duper detail. Basically, the book was this guy and his wife, their daughter was having this like fever that wouldn't go away. They couldn't afford medicine. So he goes, I'm going to go and be a contestant on The Running Man. And they had to go through all these crazy rigorous tests, and only three people made it into the final Running Man thing. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm in The Running Man. He meets some people who, you know, some of them try to help him, some of them try to kill him. There's bounty hunters who try to kill him. There's incentive to the everyone in the entire world is the world or the country, I don't know, to say if you see him, report him, and we will give you 10,000 new dollars. Uh, the distinction between new dollars and old dollars is just that new dollars are worth more than old dollars. I must be a commentary on something.
I always assumed it was an inflation thing.
Probably. So that happens. He's running around. He finds people who help him. He encounters bounty hunters and he kills them. And he's supposed to send out 10 minutes of video every day so that people know that he's still doing the thing. And if he fails to send out the 10-minute video every day, he doesn't get any money, but he's still, people are still encouraged to kill him or report his whereabouts. Finally, he like hijacks this woman's car and they go to the airplane and he says, I have an explosive, get me on an airplane out of here, or I will detonate said explosive. They don't believe him at first, and then after about 50 pages, they finally believe him. They let him on the plane. Uh, Bad shit goes down, and in the book, and here's where I did not respect what the movie did, but in the book, he crashed the plane into the headquarters that hosted the Running Man, right? Allegedly with Killian, and I'm sorry, Killian is the man who invented the Running Man. In the book, it ends with like a very bittersweet because Ben Richards' wife and daughter, they get murdered, and it's sort of like, how is that not going to happen? Even though Stephen King was not revealing his true identity at the time, it is still a Stephen King book. So, that happened. And so he said, I really have nothing to live for. I'm going to crash this plane into the building that hosts the Running Man and all these sadistic, disgusting game shows. And that's how the book ends. The movie ends where like they tell him that his wife and daughter were murdered, but it wasn't true. He doesn't fly the plane into a building. That whole thing is faked, and he goes and he kills the host of the show. And I'm like, this is a terrible ending. I don't like this ending. So that's the book in the and the 2025 movie. We'll talk about the Schwarzenegger movie in a little bit. Okay, Ken, I know you have been very patiently waiting to talk about this. So what are your thoughts and views?
All right, so my order in seeing this, which I imagine would be most of the people that know about this property, is that I saw the Schwarzenegger film, and then a couple of years later, because I think it came out in '87.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I was still in high school. So I wasn't like full on into I'm going to sit around and read like novel books. I was just more about, being an idiot in high school and, going to class. So I saw the movie first, and then I read the book, I think 2 years later, possibly 3.
Maybe 4.
So, yeah, I don't think it was 4. I think it was because I know I read it when I was in college, and I was in college a couple of years after that.
Ah.
So, immediately as with, most King books, the movie adaptations are almost tangential to what the book was.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I watched the new movie, part of me was saying, it's not a great movie. I mean, if anything, it's kind of like a mediocre action adventure with a bit of a message. So I don't want to say it's great, but the amount of I don't know, not reliability, but the amount that it followed the actual book, I was impressed.
It was very faithful.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. There was only a couple of things that changed. I mean, and even if I had to even give a gross overview of it, I would just say the only thing they really changed was the ending because they wanted to give it a movie happy ending, which it was a bittersweet movie happy ending, but it still was. I prefer the ending in the book. Just like I said, the one thing that stuck out in my mind after I read the book, And I guess I can spoil the book because it's like a 40-year-old book.
Also, if you're listening to this, I don't imagine you haven't read it.
You haven't, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the whole end scene in the plane where he's dragging his intestines around the plane, I could never, I read it one time. And when I went back, like I maybe read the book twice, and then I hadn't read it since, like the late 80s. And when I read it again, that scene, I was like, I remembered everything that happened in that scene. So I was like, it impacted me so much. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the Stephen King part of it. And they alluded to it in the movie. I mean, like I saw when they did it, I was like, oh, are they going to do it? Are they going to do any of it? But they really didn't, but they kind of.
With the money, it was Schwarzenegger's face on the money.
Yeah. No. But the part about when he was fighting the lead hunter, and the hunter grabs like a piece of the glass and slashes him in the gut.
He's talking about were they going to show the entrails coming out and
are they going to show it? And like he was grabbing himself like he got cut bad, like in the midsection. And I'm like, are they going to really do it? But they didn't. So, but hey, good fake out. I realized why they felt they couldn't do it, because that ending was over the top kind of thing.
That was very graphic. the description, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I was really impressed with how faithful it was. And the stuff that they changed throughout it, I understand why, and I don't have an issue with it too much. Like the part about when he was crawling through the sewer pipes in the Y to get out to the sewer. And I get why they didn't put that in there and why they changed it for what they did. Because filming someone crawling around tight sewer pipes it's not good film, and it's hard to translate it. And I decided why they decided to, shall I say, expose as much as they did in his escape scene from the hotel was because it makes for better box office, I suppose.
That is it. That was a magical towel that just never came off.
Yes, until he decided to take it off.
Right, and then you saw his backside. It was
You saw all there was, and one thing I was like, all right, look, at least and another homage. They got the Schwarzenegger type body guy to be in this. One thing that struck me was the Schwarzenegger film. It made more sense why Ben Richards could get through all this stuff than the new movie and the book, actually.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, in the new movie, in the book, he's just like some kind of, up yours. I'm not going to do what you tell me. If my boss tells me what to do, I'm going to punch him in the face. Like, that's all his character was, really.
Yeah.
And that he just kept getting fired. And I wonder why he couldn't keep a job. But in the Schwarzenegger one, he's military. So it makes total sense why he could just beat up everybody and kill everybody. It almost made no sense in the book or in the movie why, a regular Joe who just works menial labor could kill all these well-seasoned bounty hunters.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you why. It's because if he couldn't and he was just killed at the beginning, then there would be no book. Or movie.
No, well, of course.
Of course.
But look, I was pleased with. It's like I like the newer movie better because of its adherence to the book. But look, the Schwarzenegger stuff. It was a cartoon. It was.
Yeah.
You know what? It was a series of vignettes. That's the way I saw it at the end. This last time around when I watched it, I felt like I had a lot more clarity. It wasn't a movie. It was just like, we're going to have them fight here, and now we'll have them fight here. And that, and that's all it was. And then at the end of each scene, Schwarzenegger is going to say a Terminator line.
I'll be back, right? Yeah. Okay.
Or some other kind of clever quip. Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero.
Now.
You gotta be kidding me.
Now, Plane Zero. Now, Sub-Zero I was fascinated because I'd never seen
Oh,
the
you'd never seen him before.
n n no, Ken, that's not
Oh,
true.
okay.
Not what I was gonna
Okay.
say.
Okay,
I
sorry.
had
I jumped. Go
I
ahead.
had and I know what you're thinking, and you know what I'm
Hmm.
about to say.
Hmm.
No, I had never seen the Schwarzenegger Running Man movie.
Hmm.
Now, the reason Ken just got so amazed that he
Hmm.
thought I was about to say I'd never seen that guy before is because he was the guy who opened the door in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, who said, Francis is busy, he's taking his bath. Um, but yes, I, I, as I think the two of you both know, I didn't really much care for the book. I really liked the new movie. I thought it was very well done. I thought it told the story in a way that I could actually give a shit about Ben Richards. I don't know. I just didn't like I thought that the premise of the book was very interesting, but I don't know, like I tried getting into it and I'm like, I don't like this guy. I kind of don't give a shit if he survives or not. And, the one thing that I'll say about the Schwarzenegger movie for right now is that I don't know if at the time people knew that Richard Bachman was Stephen King. And in the opening credits, it said based on a book by Richard Bachman. It didn't say anything about Stephen King. So I'm not sure if they knew it was Stephen King. And that may be why they mangled it to death the way that they did. Uh, yes, Ken.
I know. I know. I just had an interesting thought earlier today. Do you think that when Stephen King was writing as Richard Bachman, that was kind of his Alan Smithy phase? If
It's
you're
it's
familiar
not
with the term, right?
Yeah, it's not exactly the same thing because a lot of people used the name Alan Smithy. Jen, if you're not familiar, and those of you who are not familiar with the name Alan Smithy, that was a name used by directors when they directed a movie that they were less than proud of, and they didn't want to use their real name. They just went by the name Alan Smithy. And so before they knew that Alan Smithy was not a real thing, people probably just thought that he was a shitty director because he couldn't manage to make a good movie. Anyway, um, Jen, your thoughts and views on The Running Man.
Yes, I
Yes.
have many things to say. So to answer a recent question that came up, I was consulting with my friend ChatGPT while you guys were chatting. It was revealed in 1985 that Stephen King was writing under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, and the original Running Man movie was released in 1987.
Okay.
So people could have known by that time that Richard Bachman was Stephen King, but to make the leap that everybody who saw the Running Man movie was also a literary person who would have heard that news and gave a shit is a leap, right?
Yes.
So even though it was 2 years after Richard Bachman passed away, and we knew that he was Stephen King, people who watched the movie might not have known that. And then Ken, to answer your question about Richard Bachman, it was Stephen King wrote under that pseudonym because he was churning out 2 books a year, and the publishers were concerned that that was basically too prolific, too much. Readers would think that there was a ghostwriter, or readers would get tired of his works. And so Richard Bachman was Stephen King's way of being able to write and publish as much as he wanted to without any kind of, I guess, repercussions or hit to his reputation.
Mhm.
But anyway, so all of that said, what did I think of The Running Man? I had a different experience from Ken in terms of how I came to it. I read the Bachman books, which was Stephen King's collection of 4 Richard Bachman novellas, probably in like 1994 or something when I was about 12 years old. Um, and then I hadn't read it since. So I had completely forgotten it. So reading the book or the novella for this podcast was basically a brand new experience for me. And I had never seen the original, what's his name, Schwarzenegger movie. So the book was sort of brand new to me. And then I watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, which was brand new to me. And then I watched the new movie. Um, and I think I really, really enjoyed the book. Um, the problem, I guess, I've read so many dystopian and fantasy books that are sort of evil government oppresses poor people, and then there's a happy ending, right? Like a la Hunger Games, a la Red Rising. Like there's this whole kind of market for dystopian books about evil, oppressive government. And at the end, there's a happy ending and the poor people win and the evil government is overthrown. And I just have read so many of those in my life that I got really, really into the Running Man story and was hoping for that typical resolution, like really hoping that this guy would, win and get the money to help his wife and his kid would live happily ever after. And I got kind of so into it, having read so much of this trope, that I forgot myself. Like, as Stephen King's number one fan, I forgot myself and I forgot that I was reading a Stephen King book um, until the poor man was, dragging his entrails behind him on the airplane. And then I was like, oh, fuck, this is Stephen King. This is not going to end well for anybody. Um, so that was kind of an awakening from reading books like Red Rising, which is fantastic if you haven't read it, and The Hunger Games and sort of these redemption arc stories. This is not that. Uh, but it was a great King story, and that scene in the airplane at the end was a great King moment. There's a handful of moments from Stephen King books throughout my life that, um, they'll stick with you forever. They're with you when you close your eyes. Like they're truly memorable, and this was one of them. Um, so I thought it was a great story. I liked the new movie. I unfortunately don't know if I liked the new movie because it stuck better to the book than the old movie, or if I liked the new movie because it was actually a good movie. Like I'm having trouble separating that
I
in
would
my mind.
say probably the first one. I don't mean to cut you off, Jen, but
Yeah.
that more than likely the first one. If you had seen that movie, or I had seen that movie having no idea that it was connected to any book, I would be like, what a ridiculous movie. This is basically brain candy. And
Okay.
you like it for that reason, but yes, it is very well connected to the book, and I think
I
that's
think I
why.
only liked it because I had
Yes.
just watched the Schwarzenegger one and was
Mm.
enraged by the fact that they didn't even fucking try to make it the same story. Like I was filled with Stephen King fangirl rage, and so I think that's the only reason I liked the new movie.
The old movie and the new movie and the book, they basically have like all of the themes are there. They're like, okay, we're taking the same themes and we're putting it in this entirely different I don't know where they had the nerve to even call that movie The Running Man. Like
Yes, correct.
why not just make a movie like about that kind of thing, not use okay, I will say this before I forget to say it. Uh, the movie was awful, like to the point where it was enjoyable. It was that awful, right? But I had no idea Richard Dawson was so good at acting like a total piece of shit. I was like, this is incredible. This is
Which one is Richard Dawson?
he was Killian. He
Killian.
was he was
Killian.
the
Okay.
the he was the
Okay.
game show host.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Now
what?
Richard Dawson had been around acting
Yeah.
forever. I mean, he was on so many TV shows and in so many movies. It was ridiculous. His acting experience was really vast. People
Yeah.
don't even like realize that too much.
But what I really liked, I'm sorry, Jen, I'll get right back to you. But what I really liked about the Richard Dawson thing is, first of all, he's a game show host, which okay, yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But then toward the end, he's like putting his arm around old ladies, saying, "What do you think is gonna happen?" I'm like, okay, all right, we get the idea. He was Family Feud, understood. Just pull it back just a tad. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
Um, no, I mean, I think we need to go back to the idea, right? There is this whole kind of genre of evil, oppressive government
Hmm.
beats down the poor people and the poor people uprise and rebel. Um, Stephen King has done it also before in The Long Walk, which I think was published before The Running Man, if I'm not mistaken. So this concept of like kind of a game to win money, and kind of the government and the military sort of being the same evil entity at the top is not new to Stephen King.
Hmm.
It's also not new in general. Are you guys both familiar with, there's a short story called The Most Dangerous Game that was published in 1924? Are either of
Nope.
you familiar with
No,
it?
I've heard
no,
of
but
it
that
before, but
sounds
I
that
don't think
sounds
I've
like
read it.
something I want to read though.
Okay, so there's a
Yeah.
short story that was published in 1924 by Richard Connell called The Most Dangerous Game, and this is something they forced everybody who was an English major to read in college. And it is a short story where a man is invited to his friend's property for a long weekend, his rich friend's property to go hunting. And this man, this rich friend, is a big game hunter. He's hunted like rhinos and elephants and lions and da da da, da, and hunting is his passion. And it's not until this man gets to his friend's property for the long weekend, on this private island, that he finds out that he is the prey. Um, and
Didn't they do
so
a
I
I
movie with
think
this
they
with
did.
Rutger Hauer?
I
I think
did
they did.
I did when I was in
John is
eighth
flailing his arms for the
when I
listeners
was
who cannot see. There's flailing Kermit arms happening. Um,
when I was in eighth grade. Yes, that we
right. So
they
this
made us read it
this
in eighth
man
grade.
finds out that his rich friend has invited him to this private island, and the rich friend has this like famous line where he's like, "I've hunted every game imaginable. The only game that I've left that I've yet to hunt and kill is human." And so he's like, I'll give you whatever 12 hours head start. You can survive on my property. And if you survive the 4 days, I'll let you go. And I'm going to try to kill you. So
And that's
ready,
it.
set, go.
I
And so
bel
this whole thing is kind of an homage to that. Like, I can't imagine that Stephen King created this without knowing that that story existed.
Oh, sure. I mean, like yeah, like you said, these kinds of stories, like Stephen King is not the first person to write these kinds of stories. By the way, Jen, to answer your question, The Long Walk was 1979, The Running Man was 1982.
Okay.
Um,
So Long
and
Walk was first. Yeah.
right, and I believe that the line in The Most Dangerous Game was that he didn't say it straight out. He said the only animal I haven't hunted was the animal capable of reasoning. And
Yes.
yeah, I remember that for whatever
Yes,
reason.
and it fucking sticks with you,
Yes,
right?
yes. And he goes,
Yeah.
reasoning, but that's a person is able to reason, not an animal. So anyway, yeah, I think that was all I had to say.
Yeah, so that's all.
Yes,
I just wanted to kind of
yes,
point out the literary history of
yeah.
this genre. Red Rising is a big one, Hunger Games is a big one, but obviously this goes all the way back to 1924 with The Most Dangerous Game and probably
Mm,
before that, right? Um,
yeah.
But I thought it was good fun. I was really into the story to the point where I was stupidly rooting for the good guy. Foolish me, having been a
I
Stephen King fan for the last 35 years. I don't know what I was thinking.
Why would you
Uh,
do that, Jennifer?
I don't know. I was like truly disappointed when that moment when they reveal that his wife and child have been dead for over a week or something, because I was tallying my in my head every day that he survived. I'm like, great, like that's another however many $100 for his wife and kid.
Mm.
I'm imagining this off-camera moment where they're getting the drugs they need and there's going to be a happy reunion. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Like, I really don't.
It's like, oh yeah, they're gonna come out of this perfectly well. Yes, Ben Richards, of course he's gonna
Right.
make it out.
But
Yes.
it's like reading a George R. R. Martin book and thinking that people are going to survive. Like it's just a foolish thing to do.
Yes. Yes. No, that is okay. Uh the yeah, like I said, the book I I listened to it on audio. Now, I'm not gonna lie, part of it was the narrator of the book. He just felt like, I don't know. He made Ben Richards seem like such a fucking douche nozzle, right? Like for lack of a better word. He comes I mean, comes onto the page. You start listening to him, And he's even talking to his wife about the baby's fever, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have any money." And I'm like, "Okay, I already don't like him. I know there's something that I'm just like and it's not like, oh, I want him to die. It's in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy is and he's not even like an asshole in an interesting way. He's just an asshole. Like he just says rude things to people and he goes on his merry way, and he continues to do that doing his physical. He continues to do that during the games. And I'm just sort of like, all right, I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck if you survive. Now, in the movie, he is a lot more likable. I think he is anyway. So, that's why I prefer the movie over the book. The book I felt was a little stale. I felt it was a little slow moving. I felt that there were parts that didn't really need to be in there. Uh, and yeah, that is my overall view. Uh, as I was saying, now the Schwarzenegger movie, again, very, very quick overview. It's actually the premise is exactly the opposite of the book and the new movie. It's that Schwarzenegger was like arrested and he manages to escape, and he like kidnaps some Spanish lady, and he's about to like try to force her onto an airplane with him, and she screams for help. He gets arrested, and then Richard Dawson says, "You have to go on my show." Like he didn't have a choice. He didn't want to do it. He didn't have a choice. Whereas the Ben Richards in the original story, like people were trying to get on because there was a cash prize, and most people were rejected. So that right there, I felt was an interesting change that they made. I'm like, okay, look, yeah,
Well, one correction I wanted to make: the
uh-huh,
people that would, well, first of all, like you said, I mean, Richards was arrested and they made criminals go on the Running Man in the Schwarzenegger movie.
right,
In the story and in the new movie, people wanted to get on because they offered them such an obscene amount of money,
hmm,
for such a short amount of time if you could survive.
yeah,
But they would accept a great swath of people, but the games they would put them in were determined to be the most lethal for them. So
right,
you'd have
right,
like big fat dudes with a heart problem. Like I remember there was like one thing where a guy came out and he's like, they put me on like Wheel of Life or whatever the hell they call it. I didn't know my heart was that bad.
Hmm.
So it's like they
yeah.
specifically put you on shows that would kill you the most quickly.
What I
Well,
love,
and the other thing, Ken, that's interesting is John was saying I keep wanting to say the Terminator movie. That's not correct, but in the
say it,
Schwarzenegger movie, um, right, they're putting criminals, he like escapes from this like prisoner detainment camp or whatever, and so they're putting criminals on this show. Um, in the book, the game is kind of a way for the government to rid society of what they consider the rebels and the degenerates and the troublemakers. So they're not outright putting criminals on the show, but the pool of people that are applying are the poor and the beaten down and kind of the riffraff, and they purposely select the folks like Ben who've been kind of blackballed from jobs for like trying to start unions or speaking up against unfair working conditions. They're kind of purposely putting the troublemakers on these shows to kill
mhm.
them off, right? So at least that much of it is sort of the same.
Yeah. Well, okay. Another thing that I uh noticed earlier today, and sometimes I forget to say things that I notice and I regret it with the rest of my life later on. But now, when the book came out, I mean, they were both dystopian futures, right? In the book, it was 1982, took place in 2025, and it was just this one big, like, okay, here's worldwide entertainment. There's no real TV. It's just this. Okay, enjoy the book. I think by the time the Schwarzenegger movie came out, game shows had become very popular. And I feel like maybe that was why they made it the way that they did, where Ken,
Well, I think it's so. What was the most obvious to me was it was game shows
yeah,
and wrestling.
and yeah, and wrestling,
Mm.
That
yeah,
was the
Yeah, there
whole
is a
movie.
little bit of the old school like WWF like sensationalism in there,
yeah.
isn't
That was
there?
well. I mean, Jesse Ventura was like the leader of the like hunter guys, and I know that guy, Buzzsaw or whatever. He had to be a wrestler in some sense
Sure, I think
because
they
there
all
was no
were.
other way. Yeah,
It's
and then
yeah.
and well, I said it to you guys before in chat. It was so sad to see Jim Brown get done the way that he did.
Yeah, talking about kind of the WWE and the game show sensationalism, I thought it
Yeah.
was an interesting kind of creative choice or transition that the only two things that they, whoever they are, chose to keep consistent from the old movie and the new movie was like women dancing in spandex leotards and the game show contestants like being strapped into weird things and shooting through futuristic like strobe light tunnels.
Yes.
Neither of which happened in the story, like in the
No.
book. Um, but it was interesting that whoever, directors, producers, whoever makes choices, looked at the old movie and created the new movie and thought that it was worthy to keep those two elements.
Well, the dancing girls, yes, because even if you're not interested in the movie, you're going to be in. Well, I'm going to be interested in that part. Um, the okay, like I was saying before, the all the stories, the book and the two movies, they basically kept the thing intact of, you know, television will do whatever it needs to do to get viewership, to get money, to get sponsorship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as we learn later on in all versions of the story, what we're seeing on the screen is almost definitely not what actually happened. So,
Hmm.
they do that constantly in everything to the point where they're saying, "Oh, look, these criminals won and now they're like living in Hawaii. They've paid their debt to society," which was entire bullshit. What I didn't really understand was when the lady went into the locker room and they, for whatever reason, they just stored all the dead bodies in the locker room. I'm like, why not get rid of the dead bodies? I don't understand. But yeah, that's how she found out. She was like, that's not what happened at all, is it? No. And that's how Schwarzenegger was made out to look like a bad guy. That's how when Ben Richards was trying to issue a warning to people, they just changed what he said entirely. They could basically do it in real time. It's definitely commentary where, what you see is kind of almost in any case not what happens. So I don't know. Do with that what you will.
I mean, and this also goes back to the book 1984.
Hmm.
Like this, I don't know how long ago you guys have read, I don't know how long it's been since you've read 1984, but these kind of mandatory television screens in everybody's home that are sharing propaganda that is clearly not true, that is being fed to you by the government, which, like, by the way, is so goddamn scary in
Hmm.
today's actual 2025. These dystopian
2020.
books um, are never not relevant, right? But I was looking at, I was reading kind of about their whatever they call them, the freebies or whatever these television sets in the homes,
We have that
and
now.
thinking about the propaganda and how the government kind of controls the narrative. And it was very much 1984, Big Brother is watching you.
Hmm.
Right. Again, there are no new ideas. Like this has all been done. And I think with Stephen King, it's intentional, right? It's an homage, it's a nod to it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, the story I thought was great in the original and then the new movie. The execution in the book I just thought was bland and to me uninteresting. Apparently, I rather stand alone in that opinion, but this is not the first time that that's happened, so I'm used to it, and I'm comfortable talking about it.
I don't know. Ken, how would you rate the book if you had to give it like between 0 and 5 stars, the story itself?
Okay, I'm not really going to be the greatest person at rating books, just because I've read a handful, but I'm not like a habitual book reader. Um, so it's tough to say because the themes of the book and some of the ideas in it, and of course, the Stephen King is so great at describing things. So I'm not I'm not going to say it was really bad. And you know what, the dystopian future, I like that genre. I was just tickled when it was like, oh, it's taking place today. And a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
this stuff is actually really happening, which I don't know. I should be sadder about that
Yeah.
than I was excited about it. So out of 10, I'm going to give it like a 7.
Okay.
Okay. And John, what about you? I guess out of 10, if 0 to 10 is our scale.
Well, so I never have an easy time giving a rating because while I appreciate the book, I appreciate the message, and I appreciate just how the story unfolds. I I would say in my own enjoyment, it was like a 4. But the
Hmm.
story itself, just kind of as it stands, what they could have possibly done with it, I would say like 8.5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for me to think about because I mean 10 out of 10 Stephen King storytelling is it and The Stand and the Dark Tower series, right? Like those are Stephen King's 10 out of 10 books. Like
Not
not just according to me, but objectively. Those are the facts.
not even The
Um
Shining?
no, definitely not.
Wow. Okay.
So
Well,
I wouldn't put this up there, but I was almost coming to it as a new reader because I haven't read it since I was 12 years old, and I'm very, very old now. Um, as a new reader, I was enjoying it. I was into it. I was rooting for the characters. I was excited to see what happened next. Like,
hmm.
I would put it at a good 7 on my sort of Stephen King awesomeness scale. So I'm surprised how much you disliked the book.
It's okay. Like I said, to me, what occurred in the book and the main character are the reasons that I didn't like it. It's not because I didn't like the story. I didn't like the message. I didn't like X, Y, and Z. All of that was great. I just didn't like the execution. That
Good,
was
yeah,
that
good
was really
story,
it.
bad execution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so, Jen, what about Oh, you rated it already. I'm sorry. You just rated it. Um, anyone else have other things to say about it?
I really enjoyed Michael Cera's performance.
Michael Cera was
I think
great.
he was, yeah, I think he was one of the best things about the movie.
Yes.
I'm sorry, which character was Michael Cera?
The conspiracy theorist guy that he hid out at his house. In the book, the mother calls up and turns them in,
Oh, with
Yeah.
the
but
creepy
in the
old
movie,
mom
he
lady.
turns them in just because he wants to kick the crap out of a whole bunch of police.
Yeah,
I
let's
thought
talk about the rationale there for a
He
minute.
has all these
Why
Yeah.
he
in
has
the
all these booby
movie,
traps
why
set
did
up, and he just wants to go for it.
Yeah.
yeah, why did Michael Cera turn him in? Like I couldn't that was a moment where I couldn't quite understand the character's motivation in the movie.
I thought it was I mean, maybe there's other things that are,
No, I
taking
think the way I got it is I thought that Michael Cera's character. So this was where I think they translated the idea of the book very well into things that we would understand nowadays. So the two teenage boys that Ben Richards like partnered up with when he was in the city, and then they connected him to a network so that he could escape. And then they sent him to this guy out in the country so he could hide out in their house. All right, this is in the book.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the mother calls the police, and she's like, I did it for you. And then he's got to escape. And that also leads me to one of the points in the book that are also very descriptive and that you're going to remember forever, about like how they're escaping and the guy gets shot and then he gets like crushed by the steering wheel and he's just constantly vomiting up blood. And I was like, whoa, you're getting pretty hefty with that. But
Yeah.
but Michael Cera's character, so the character in the book was he was I don't want to say it this way because it's not true, because what he thought was true, but he was like a conspiracy theorist. That he's like, the corporations are poisoning us. Look how everybody's getting these ridiculous rates of emphysema and cancer, and they don't even smoke. And it's because you can't get the $6,000 nasal filters that the
Right.
rich people can afford.
Yeah, I mean, he was part of what most of these dystopian books would call the resistance.
The resistance, exactly. So Michael Cera's character was like this conspiracy theorist type guy. You noticed he was always in Long John's underwear, like he never like put on clothes. And and I'm going to say this as, a beard snob. He didn't have a beard that was fully grown out. It was all patchy and it just looked like he just forgot to shave for the past week or two. But the point is, his whole house was rigged up with booby traps. And I think he was just like, this is my time to just, I'm gonna show what I got. And, so he called the cops because he's like, I wanna do it. I want to strike my blow for the resistance.
Definitely
And
cocky and overconfident and over eager to like stick it to the man.
right. And then he leads him upstairs and he's like, why are we on the second floor? Why were he's like, because I want to slide down I want to
Go
slide down
the
a
pole.
fireman's pole.
Look, we got it
He's
in
like,
the shower. Like,
and he's like, because you want to slide down a pole? He's like, no, because I want us to slide down a pole. And I was like, this is incredible. I mean, he was like one of the most fun parts of the movie. And I felt it kind of drew a parallel because now, I mean, come on, one of the biggest archetypes online out there is the conspiracy theorist. And you're like, all right, that's Michael Cera's character, except he was actually right about everything.
right.
So.
I also thought, I mean, yes, there's all of that was at play as well. But, when the mother saw him and she said, oh, I knew it was you, and she was about to call the cops or whatever, it seemed to me that Michael Cera was like, okay, this is the moment, because if we leave this alone, she's going to call the cops anyway. So we might as well be prepared. So she's like, Ben Richards broke into my house. And yeah.
I mean, I
That
really
makes
like the
sense.
mother caricature in the story, and even more in the new movie. She was the Fox News viewer, right? Like, let's just say it. Like, she was the one who was watching the freebie and believing everything they said and drinking the Kool-Aid and believing that Ben Richards was this evil killer. Like, she was the Fox News viewer, right? Of our time.
And one of my kids pointed out they caught it before I did, and I thought I was getting it a little bit, but they caught it first. That actress that played the deranged mother, she's been a voice actress for so many cartoons, and she always plays like the crazed older woman. Or shows like she always uses that voice. I think she's been on Gumball like a lot.
Her face reminded me of, I'm not going to get this right. There's like a fat secretary cartoon character in, I want to say Monsters Inc., who wears like these cat eye glasses,
Okay. Yeah.
and has
Big
this like
beehive.
town turned down mouth. She was the human embodiment of that cartoon
Nice.
character, for what it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I liked. Okay. So the scene toward the end of the book where, he's got that lady hostage in her car, and, he's like, okay, like, you're going to tell them that I got an explosive and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I can't lie. And it's like, okay, but no, let me explain it to you. And like, you're gonna say it and you'll be fine. Uh, None of that happened in the movie. It was just hijacked her car, and they all in the movie just immediately. Well, okay, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just wanted to get him on the plane because they said, "Oh, like, I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I know you're bluffing. I know you don't have an explosive. Got you on the plane. Cool." But yeah, the lead up in the movie I felt was a little bit too abbreviated. I felt that they did a very good job of that in the book to make it a little bit or a lot more realistic than they did in the movie, where she was just willing to go along with it. And she didn't really seem to have that much of a problem with it. So I don't know. That was the one thing that I liked in the book more than the movie.
I think there's a character arc to that woman, the hostage woman.
Yeah.
It feels a little rushed and a little forced in the book and more so in the movie, but I think what King was trying to do when we first meet her, she's kind of this rich lady with a fancy scarf and a makeup bag. And
Hmm.
she too is like the Fox News viewer, right? Like she believes what the government is telling her and what the freebies are telling her. And she kind of lives her rich, sheltered life on the straight and narrow. And when she first meets Ben Richard, she's like, "Oh my God, you're a scary killer. Like, this is terrible." But she starts to realize bit by bit when she sees, and they show this better in the movie, she starts to realize that the government is lying to people. And
Hmm.
you sort of see certain scenes show up on the televisions that are not what happened, where she's like leaning out of the car, waving, like, "Help, I'm being
Yeah.
held hostage." And she sees it and she's like, "I know that that never happened." And
That
so
that
there's
did
this
not happen.
character
Right.
arc of her where she's kind of in the cult, like, drinking the Kool-Aid and slowly starts to see that the people, the government that she trusts is not quite as trustworthy as she thought
Hmm.
her whole
Yep, they
life. And
they
so I
do
think
that,
that
and they do that in
awakening
the
of hers
Schwarzenegger
is
movie
very
too.
And
interesting.
it was the Spanish lady when she's
Maria Conchita
That's
Alonso.
the hostage woman?
the
That's the hostage
the
woman in the
hostage
Schwarzenegger movie.
in the yeah.
She was big for about like 3.5 years in the 80s.
Okay.
I'm surprised that there's no memes of her in her underwear tied to gym equipment. I don't know, like this. I'm like, why am I seeing this for the first time? Why is this not more famous of an image? But yeah, no, you're right, Ken, where she was saying like, oh, she's screamed for help, Schwarzenegger got arrested, and then she hears on the news, oh, like Ben Richards killed this guy and did that, and she's like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. And it's like, are you really trying to convince me that the only person who sees the inconsistencies is this one random lady who happened to be, I don't know, it seemed very unrealistic, and it's just like, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. That's the point, is that it's not, that there's the whole resistance. Which, well, first of all, we got to say, we've glossed all over this. In the
Mhm.
Schwarzenegger movie, the head of the resistance is Mick Fleetwood,
Yes, yes, it is,
and
and
they call him Mick. They
Mick,
call him Mick.
and he had Dweezil Zappa with him as
And
his
Dweezil
assistant. Yeah, that
Zappa
was
was his. Yep.
yeah,
No, I
that
know.
was
That's one thing that, if you got to say anything about that film, is it's definitely a time capsule. Even if it was so bad, it's definitely, there's that element of nostalgia in it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it was bad. And I think most people
it
who
was not a good
it was
movie.
bad. It was objectively bad. I think most people who love the movie, it's a nostalgia love, right? They have a soft spot
Yeah,
for it. They grew up watching it in their childhood or something. And because I didn't, because I had never seen it until like 4 days ago, I can tell you objectively that it was a bad movie.
Oh,
Okay.
I agree
It
100%.
it almost felt to me that the acting was intentionally shitty because I know Schwarzenegger can act. He's not like a brilliant actor, but I know he can act. And in the movie, he was not acting well. Richard Dawson was like the only good actor in that whole movie. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So I don't know if we're there yet, John, and stop me if we're not, but I do want to talk about the difference in the ending from the book and the new movie, but I don't want to skip ahead if we're not ready to talk about that yet.
Jennifer, you should know by now that I have absolutely no list of sequence of events. It just say what you say. So, yeah, if you want to talk about the ending of the book and the movie, please feel free.
Okay, you touched about it on it a little bit in the beginning, but help me get there. So
Okay.
I know that in the book he actually flies the plane into the big fancy building that houses the games and
Yeah.
blows up
Into
the
Killian's office. Like
Killian's
right.
office, yeah.
they meet eye to eye right before the
Right.
plane hits.
And that's the same to me. That's the Hunger Games moment when Jennifer Lawrence kills President Snow with the arrow. Right. It's the same. It's the same moment. But and it was a good moment because it was like fuck you to the man. What the hell happened in the new movie? They
Okay.
faked him flying the plane into the thing to make
Yeah.
him look like a bad guy, or like what the hell happened?
It seemed it's felt like a very abstract, like kind of you choose the fate, but if you decide that Ben Richards dies, here's something that's going to make that not work because okay, the plane exploded. It seemed uh on itself. It didn't crash into a building or
Like the
anything.
plane
It just
actually exploded in real life.
I don't think so
No.
because Ben
Okay.
Richards was still alive. So
Right.
right. But the plane like they showed the plane exploding. They did not show it crashing into a building. They did not. I guess if it was going to be faked, it can't crash into a building. Otherwise, they'd have to destroy the building. So they
Okay.
were like, "Here's the building. The plane explodes in the middle of the air because like maybe a gas leak happened. I don't know." Um, and then so as it turns out, they don't show the plane landing, but they're hosting the games. Ben Richards comes out. He finds out, I think the implication is that he finds out that his wife and daughter are actually not dead, you know, because they're shopping. The daughter seems fine. The wife goes out to someone wearing like this giant hat, who I guess we're supposed to think that's Ben Richards. But they don't say it
I
straight
think
out.
so.
Yeah. And so now Ben Richards is like, he's confronting Killian. He shoots him in the head and then it goes to the credits. So I don't know.
So,
I
but the
mean,
government slash game show people faked the plane crash and faked Ben Richards dying to what end? Like, what were they
maybe
trying to feed the audience at that time?
maybe it's possible because they're not saying that the TV people did that. Maybe it's possible that because Ben Richards is now taking control, perhaps he was the one who faked the explosion on television.
But
And
the general audience, the poor people who watch freebies
right.
and stuff, think that the plane exploded and he died
Yeah.
on it. Is that what happened? Okay.
Yes, that is what happened. And because they're able to change things before they air, that must have been what happened with the plane as well. That he landed it, he went back, he edited the footage to make it look like it exploded, and now he's back on land and he won the games, and it
But
doesn't
he
matter.
does eventually go and kill the bad guy at the end, yes?
He kills Killian, yes.
Okay.
Which I will also say the name Killian is a little bit too on the nose. I'm like, Killian is a that's an interesting choice for for that guy. Anyway, that's my commentary.
Now, I mean, I enjoyed how, I mean, again, getting back to being more accurate in the book, that the host of the Running Man and Killian are two different people,
Yes, in
and in the
the
Schwarzenegger, it's the same guy,
Well, one is the
right.
host of the game show, and one
right?
is the like
And one
big
is the
bad network exec guy, right?
Josh
yes, that's
Josh
like yeah,
right. Josh Brolin
Josh Brolin,
was Killian,
Killian,
and he was not the host of the games. In the
right,
Schwarzenegger movie, Killian was also the host of the games. Yes.
right, right.
Right.
So I mean,
And
that was
the ending is interesting. John and I had a side conversation in text a couple weeks back, um, about the book where he actually flies the plane into this whatever
The
tower
headquarters, yeah.
where the games are taking place. And John said something to me along the lines of like, well, he got rid of the games. He took care of everything. He blew up the tower. And, my response is just because you cut off the head of the snake doesn't, my feeling is that the government and the games and the people who control and oppress the poor people are so rich and powerful and blah, 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 that it's like, fine, blow up one building and one network leader. They're just going to put another game show host in charge and another leader in charge. And like, it's not, I don't think that blowing up that one tower ended the oppressive society that they all lived in. Like, I don't think it was big
Um,
enough to solve the problem.
so yes, and I'm literally just thinking of this now. If the world knows that the building got blown up and that's how it was shown, and they see like this is reality, maybe they don't want it to come back. Maybe they don't, maybe like, because all it's going to do is going to cause more violence, is going to cause more death and destruction all over the place. Perhaps, people who were enjoying it were now like, uh, if that's the kind of thing that happens, maybe we shouldn't have it come back. I don't know.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, so in the spirit of Big Brother is watching, I'm going to choose my next words very carefully.
Okay.
Um, if there were, for example, a leader in charge of a prominent country in 2025 and something terrible were to happen to that evil, oppressive leader,
Hmm.
um, the oppressed perhaps would rejoice, but would it solve the bigger problem that allowed that leader to step into the role that he is in?
I mean, no, the what damage has been done, but if you prevent further damage from being done by that person,
If there were such an
yes.
evil leader
Right. Well,
with
my
dictator-like hopes and dreams, would getting rid of that leader really solve the problem?
my thoughts are no, because the leader is a symptom and not
Exactly.
the cause. Also, my bigger thought beyond that is how the hell would you even know it happened? With the ability to, manipulate things
Right.
digitally as we have now, which is quite similar to
Yes.
Yes.
which they got it, just dead on the nose in both of the movies. How would you even know it happened?
Exactly, because the government or the entity in power
Yeah.
in both the book and the movie and in our real lives today kind of has the ability to show you what they want you to see and what they want
Yeah,
you to
if there
believe.
look if there's a vested monetary interest in keeping that sort of thing continuing, it
Hmm.
will be continued.
Yeah,
But I think that was part of the movie, was that I think with the book, and then at least the idea in the movie is that in the end that the truth was finally exposed and there was no way to hide it from anyone, and it didn't
mm,
matter anymore if they tried to hide it because too many people knew it was true, especially in, I hate to say it, but in the Schwarzenegger movie, the idea that they took over the entire satellite network and just beamed everything, beamed all the real video footage to everybody. So now there's no way to even try to hide it anymore,
hmm,
which
hmm.
they didn't do that as well in the second movie. And that really wasn't in the book as much. But I think that was all the point, was that enough of the truth would get out there that you wouldn't be able to maintain that structure
It
anymore.
starts to at least plant the seed for that rebellion or the resistance. Like
Hmm.
it's the beginning of the end, right? It's the
Hmm.
beginning of the unraveling. It's that one
Right.
kind of nugget of truth that people can't go back from.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So to answer your um very cryptic question, no one could possibly know what you were talking about.
Yes, I'm
Uh,
speaking in
it's,
code.
yes. Um, yes. Okay. You were saying he's not the problem. He's a symptom of the problem. However, the symptom seems to be the thing that's kind of calling all the shots, saying everything. The symptom is worshipped. And so if you get rid of the symptom, perhaps it won't be as bad because I don't know. I don't know what would happen because first of all, you're talking about something that is only hypothetical and not based in reality. And second of all, um, that's not going to happen. The worst that could possibly happen is that the election is stolen from said hypothetical situation and someone else comes into power and then the hypothetical supporters of this person become a bunch of whiny little bitches for 4 years and uh I don't I yeah I guess it never really went away during I mean it never would actually go away during those 4 years. You might be right, you might be onto something. It also might be a matter of, like I said before, they would see the reality of the situation that the building got blowed up and there's death and destruction and horrible fireballs everywhere. And they're like, damn, man,
Right.
we don't
It's
want that.
an it's
Yeah.
enough truth to open their
Yeah.
eyes so that they
Hmm.
can't go back is the hope anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I think I'm going to have to do an edit from about an hour ago where I said, does anyone have any closing thoughts? Because that was like an hour ago. So,
Yeah, I don't think you
yeah,
said closing. I think you said like, does anyone have anything else
or
or
final
whatever?
thoughts or
But
whatever it was.
yeah,
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 Ken.
Yeah, and then we just started,
Then
you
with a
know,
whole new conversation. Yeah. No, this is good
then the
though.
floodgates
Yes.
opened.
Hell yeah, though. There's nothing wrong with that because as much as I didn't enjoy the book, I enjoyed what it represented. I enjoyed like, okay, yeah, let's open our eyes. This is happening literally right in front of you, and you're choosing to ignore it, which is basically what the story is telling you in every incarnation of the Running Man. And I liked it because of that. And I'm not gonna say that I hated the Schwarzenegger movie. It was one of those movies where I am watching in awe of the nerve that they had to actually make this movie. And I'm like, look, I applaud your audacity for this movie.
I was screaming at the
Yes,
television. I was
yes,
screaming. I was watching it with my poor husband, who's never read the book, never seen any of the movies, whatever. Maybe I think he said he saw the original movie like 1,000 years ago when we were
yeah.
kids, but like I'm like, they didn't even try. Like, this isn't even close to the story. The like backstory, the origin story. The only thing that's the same is this guy's fucking name. Like,
The
they
name
didn't even. I was screaming at the television.
and the evil game show host owner guy.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't even try. I don't even think
Yeah.
the people who directed and produced it even fucking read the book.
So I looked it up and apparently Stephen King's involvement in this movie was basically nothing. What happened was he
No,
allowed,
he gives people
yeah,
permission and he takes
he,
the royalty check and he
yeah,
skips off into the sunset.
yeah, he was like, yeah, go ahead and make a movie out of my book, which I guess really was just like, yeah, they would have had to know that it was Stephen King for that to happen.
Right.
First of all, and second of all, yeah, make my movie, use the name, use the character name, give me the money. Okay,
He
thanks.
doesn't care. He gets paid either
Yeah.
way. So
And then he complains about The Shining. So, you know, so
right.
yeah. All right. Now, does anyone have any final thoughts? No, because we had an hour of final thoughts. Ken, were you going to say something?
So I'd like to go into an in-depth discussion about the opening three. No, I
No.
don't have anything.
Ejected from the meeting. Okay. All
You
right.
should try. There was an adaptation that happened last year that I never got to watch.
Yeah.
Um, there's a Stephen King short story that I haven't read in 100 years called The Monkey.
Hmm.
And they did a movie
Is
adaptation.
monkey's paw?
Mm-mm.
Was
I
it?
think his might
Was
just
it
be called
monkey's
The
paw?
Monkey, but it is
Okay.
based on that old like monkey's
Monkey,
paw
Okay.
legend.
the monkey's paw is not a Stephen King
Oh,
book.
I'm
That
thinking
was
about
this.
cat's paw or cat's
Yeah.
eye.
The monkey's paw is an old like urban legend. Like it's been
Very,
told
very old.
over and
Yes.
over. Like The Simpsons did an episode on it, whatever. But Stephen King's short story version of it is about a scary little monkey toy with symbols. It's a whole thing.
Oh, fun.
But they did a movie adaptation of it in 2025 that I have not yet watched. So it might be good fodder. The story in the movie might be good
I will
fodder. future podcasts.
I will read the book and watch the movie. But Ken, I wanted to respond to your monkey's paw thing. In a very loose sense, Stephen King has said that the that Pet Cemetery is like a very loose adaptation of the monkey's paw. So, yeah,
That
that's
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, that tracks.
Hmm. Okay. Well, um, this is the point where because we've already given ratings, that was fun. Ratings were good. This is the point where we say, "Hey, where can you find me?" Like Jen.
You can find me on the Facebook as Jennifer Sinclair Ringler,
All right,
and it's all that you
that's
ever need now.
all right. I like the way you promote yourself. Ken.
So I am available at times on Facebook. Ken Radner, KenRadner. I am also one of the hosts of the Undiscovered podcast, which is going to be beginning its fourth season in just a few short weeks. So it's going to be really interesting. We are going to have some really fun guests. We're going to deal with a lot of different topics this year around, so that's going to be fun. And I am also able to be arounded on
Foundicated.
foundicated on a series of podcasts involving Senor Seymour, and I will allow him to introduce them because otherwise we'd just be saying them twice.
And we can't have that. No repetitive discussion on this show. So, me, I'm Jon Seymour on Facebook, Jon space Seymour. That's me on Facebook. I am playing the drums from a side view on my profile picture. That is me if you wanted to find me on Facebook. Find me also on this podcast. The main platform is Bullshit Hour with Jon Seymour. This is an amalgamation of both the Stephen King trio with Dave Aguilar's stunt double Ken Radner, otherwise known as I'm gonna say this because we never brought this up ever, and it's your name for the night. Shit in your boot. Eat shit in a boot. Yeah,
I mean, they said it a whole lot in the
in
book.
the book. Yeah,
And they did allude to it in the new movie because when Ben Richards was doing one of his tapes, he was like, "How you doing, shit eaters?"
shit eaters.
So
There you go.
I
Was
was
the
like,
line
"Oh,
in
he
the
did
book?
it. He did it.
The line in the book was something like, I'll make you shit
I'll
in
make
your
you
boot
shit in
and
your boot and eat it."
And
eat
eat
it.
it. Yeah,
And they
Because
said it like five times.
right.
It was
I've
like,
heard
A
that line
lot.
before. It was in a Jack Reacher movie. And so I don't know if it was original to Jack Reacher or Stephen King.
Mm.
But
But anyway, um, yes, this is the amalgamation of the Stephen King trio featuring Ken Radner. And this podcast is Lamb Chops because we're also talking about The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which belongs on this podcast as Lamb Chops, but I'm not going to do a separate episode about that. So we put everything all together in this one, and we're happy, and we're doing all of that. Also, listen to The Hour of Comics is Upon Us, also featuring Mr. Ken Radner, who is not Dave Aguilar's stunt double on that show. He's just a regular on the panel. So that's it for the podcast, as far as I know. If I host any others, I'll let you know. Um, I have convinced Ken Radner and Jen Ringler, kicking and screaming completely against their wills, to do an episode of this podcast is Lamb Chops about The Housemaid, the book and the movie. I have been, yes, Ken is shaking his head. He's like, I can't believe you did this to me. This, Jen, I will be perfectly forthcoming about this. It is because you owed me popcorn and did not get me popcorn. So that is why you have to spend all of your time. Never mind. Okay.
I take accountability and I
Yes.
accept the consequences of my actions.
Accept the consequences of your actions. Yes. So yeah, the whole book reading and movie viewing really should not take that long. We'll arrange for that conversation at some point in the near future, possibly even include a fourth member or panelist to discuss it. I'll see if anyone else is able to be tricked into doing it. But the whole idea is that it is a garbage, rubbish, psychological thriller novel with a decent storyline, but horrible, ridiculous execution. Not like The Running Man, because I actually enjoyed it simply for the fact that the execution was so shitty. So that's why I'm into it. Um, Ken, you'll find out, and we will discuss that at a point in time in the future. And I guess that's it. That's all there is to it. So, with that, I will have to say thank you, Ken, and thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jon. And if you can actually get all of our names right, I applaud you too. So, good night, everyone.
And I get into small places.